Now I've got a power bank, I'm able to film a bit more. You've got a bit of modern London there. Look, there's the Gherkin just there. They're building more things. That is not the Admiralty building, by the way. I found out, as I said it was the other day, it's not the Admiralty building. Let's move back a bit. Let's hold you up. Alright, cheers mate. Someone was just going by. Yeah, so you've got the Gherkin and a bit of modern London there. Turn you back round. And you've got the view of Barking All Hallows by the tower here. Yeah, you've got the view of Barking All Hallows by the tower. Over here is the memorials for the sailors in the First World War. So that's what I showed the other day. That's more of it. It's very, very quiet around here today, obviously being Christmas Eve. The tower is closed and pretty much everything museum-wise and whatnot is closed. So yeah, we're going to be able to pretty much, not pretty much, but fairly have it to ourselves anyway. And it was quiet the other day anyway, as I said. What you've just seen again is one of the new Route Master buses. I did put a picture of the old one on. We're back at the tower again, obviously. I won't go into all the details again because I showed that the other day. I'll just give you some views. We'll walk back round to where we were when the battery died, because I wanted to start at the underside of Tower Bridge and then work stop that video and then start another video taking in Tower Bridge. We're going to do more of Tower Bridge and the opposite side of the river today, but I can never resist coming to the tower without having a look and a walk along. And being as everything's closed, it is going to be very, very quiet apparently. So yeah, there we are, tower. There's Barking All Hallows by the tower. Once again, I say, is the Samuel Pepys, the diarist. So this is the church he climbed to the steeple of in 1666 when the Great Fire of London happened, and he could see the fire from there, and it put the fear of God into him apparently. Well, it would do, wouldn't it? Luckily the fire didn't get this far. Not quite this far. It was managed to be stopped by blowing up buildings in its path, so it created a fire break. But yeah, people often think, because Samuel Pepys in his diaries wrote that he climbed to the top of Barking Church. People often mistake this Barking Church, which is the one he was talking about, with the Barking Church in what was then Essex, which is now inner London. But yeah, this was the one he was talking about. Obviously the brick stuff has been rebuilt from the Second World War. I'm doing this video again because I will be putting it on a few other pages, and I would like to say a very Merry Christmas to Abandoned UK. Absolutely amazing bloke, been a real support while I've not been well, and he messages. If you don't get in touch, he'll message and check and see if you're alright and stuff like that. And for the very little it costs to be a supporter, he's obviously not in that for the money, is he? So it says a lot about him as a human being. So I'd like to say a big thank you to Abandoned UK, all the mods and the Abandoned UK team, and say a happy Merry Christmas to everyone, and hopefully a happier New Year. So yeah, it's Barking All Hallows by the tower. These two side bits here, and this little bit old stuff. All the stuff you see in the white stone is original. This took more or less a direct hit in the middle of the war, but they rebuilt it pretty well. I mean, the dome and that is a pretty damn good replica of what was up there before, which they've done in copper. So yeah, that was nice that they rebuilt it, and it was rebuilt quickly, which is why it wasn't all redone in stone, because materials were short after the war, and that is an active parish church, and it always has been. So yeah, it needed to be built quickly, and there wasn't the English heritage and everything weren't so much breathing down people's necks in those days. I mean, if that got, just say for instance an old church like that got destroyed now, and it had that, or part of it did, and they was rebuilding, you would have to use the exact same stone in the exact same style and everything. Yeah, we're back at the tower. I'll zoom out a bit now because there's quite a lot here, isn't there? I've been lucky again with the weather at the moment, because it was rained quite heavily when I was on the bus, but it seems to have stopped. And I think, no, it's a good job I bought food and a flask of hot chocolate with me because the fish and chip kiosk is closed. No! I was looking forward to that. I'll have to wait till I get back at my end. So I'm in London for a little while now, so I'm going to be filming a lot of the things and bits and bobs, because obviously a lot of the page members on my own family history page and on Abandoned's pages and other pages and stuff can't get to see a lot of these things. A lot of people live in different countries, so it's nice to share and show the history. And this place is where anyone can see how amazing this place is. It really is amazing. Once again, just that's the White Tower with those onion top pepper pot domes of Henry VIII's. Tower Bridge, I'll zoom you in on that quickly. You can see the top of Tower Bridge there. We'll be doing another live on Tower Bridge in a minute. I'm just walking around this way because I wanted to pick up where I left off. I'm going to check my battery. Yep, that's pretty good. I've modernised myself now, and I'm quite bad with technology. I've got myself a power bank, so shouldn't have no more battery flats during lives. Back of Barking All Hallows by the church. As I said the other day in my other live, there's a nice little bar behind there. They do traditional beers like London Porter. It's really nice. Cold in the summer, and they in the winter time you can get it warm. I don't think they heat it up with a red hot poker anymore because of health and safety reasons, but that's what it would have been years ago, heated up with a poker. And the reason it's called London Porter is because all the porters and whatnot who worked in the docks and brilliant umbrellas, who worked in the docks and everything, used to drink that because it wasn't too alcoholic. It wouldn't make you ill or give you dysentery like the water would in those days because it had been brewed, and it was a nice drink. And like Guinness and that kind of thing, there's a lot of protein in it. This is interesting. I'll have to go up there and have a look. There's apparently here, and I can never find it, it's like a little round building, and it's a tunnel that runs under the Thames here, but it's not for people. It's only used by like wiring and everything like that. I'm going to have to try and find it, because every time I've got... there it is. Brilliant, I found it. I'm going to have to do a live on this one then. And I've not got my big boots on today, so these cobbles are slippery, so I'm being careful. My own page members would laugh if I fell over. I'd laugh as well, but I think I'd get up and ultimately just rinse to death if I fell over. It was on an Abandoned UK live. You know that Abandoned UK is gonna shout something like on the live, "Hello!" or whatnot, something like that. On my like, "Over you go." Yeah. This basically is how you get into the tunnel. We can't obviously get in there. I wonder why I've never noticed this before. Well, I suppose it's because I've come round about. And I am just blind as a bat half the time, and I don't notice things. I mean, it's not exactly in obscure, is it? Red post box. Over by Tower Bridge on the opposite side of the river, there's one of the really, really old-fashioned ones here. It's got the London hydraulic. Now this, if Abandoned can ever get in here, my God, people would love to see that live. No one, hardly anyone gets to come down here. Wires and things, yeah. The London Hydraulic Power Company. Tower. Oh gosh. Subway. Constructed AD 1868. Basically, they wanted to create a little mini railway before they built Tower Bridge. People were moaning because going over London Bridge was more or less the only bridge in this bit of London at the time, and it was hell on earth crossing it because it was so busy. So what they did when the railways and everything come in, they tried to build a hydraulic railway. This was it, and it just did not work right from the very start. It was a big balls up. I could be wrong, I will have to check it, but I think Isambard Kingdom Brunel may have had something to do with the building of this one. I could be wrong. I know he did do one of the tunnels. But yeah, because London Bridge, I mean, it would take an hour to cross, and the Thames in those days was so busy with boats that it would just take a very long time to get over. So that's why in the end you got Tower Bridge, and they took the old London Bridge down because it had houses and everything on it in those days. Right, so I'm going to go under that barrier. Oh. Under the barrier. Yeah, we'll show you more of the river and stuff. Tower. Yeah. Do you know, I've never ever been here myself and the tower is closed. So, bit of a novelty for myself. Yeah, the fish and chip shop, kiosk and everything's closed. At least the shop that sells the umbrellas is open now, so I'll be able to get an umbrella. This is more of what I was saying about the other day, the lions. They're made from wire mesh. Oh, now I've got my good phone. That's it. Yeah, you can't really see it on here. It's all made from wire mesh. I need to get a gimbal really. But yeah, have a look online about them if you're interested and you'll see how they was made. But it's basically all wire mesh with whatever is inside. Zoom you back out. Once again, this was the Royal Menagerie where they were kept. Some people over there, so I won't film that bit too much. Yeah, we're just going to be walking around the river now, so I'll cover the phone up a minute because people are here. Very quiet. Very quiet again. You can see it's closed to visitors. It's just people who live in there at the moment, all the beef eaters and yeoman warders and everyone, because it's like this is people live inside it. Once it closes, it becomes a community. It's got a pub in there. They've got a doctor's surgery, all sorts. Yeah, so it's like a little village, but in London. And if anyone watches the programmes about the Tower of London, they'll say themselves, the yeoman warders and the beef eaters as they're called, that basically if you get locked out, you ain't getting back in until the morning, even them, unless you've arranged to be let back in, because it's obviously a really, really secure location because of the crown jewels. So yeah, it's but the lucky thing is, imagine, right, and I asked one of them, I said, if you've got, like, you live here, don't you? He said, yeah. When this was on my last visit, actually. He went, yeah, I do, yeah. I went, can your family and that come and stay here with you? He went, yes, of course. He went, we have to sign them in and sign them out. I went, what, and they can walk around like they're outside? He went, yeah. He went, even some of the inside bits are not locked. He went, like the bits where there's nothing valuable. I went, oh my God, can you imagine being related to someone like that and being locked in the Tower of London, like, because the family obviously live in there, and then you've just got the place to yourself. Like, once the visitors are all gone, the yeoman warders' children and things, they come out and play and whatnot on the green and stuff. And it's a proper little community. It's not just a dead, dry book learning museum, as they say. Right, we're at the river again. So I'll cover you up a little bit. Well, I don't need to cover you up, I'll just point it down. Very quiet. Even quieter than the other day. I'll show you a little bit. See, that's... Obviously, because the tower is closed, it's going to be a little bit quiet, but even it shouldn't be this quiet. Discover London from the river. You do boat tours and stuff and whatnot. You can go along boat tours along the river. Also, I'm not sure what time of the year and that they do ones, might be now, up to Hampton Court Palace, and that's what I'm going to do when all the COVID restrictions and everything are lifted. We've got Tower Bridge. Bit. That's this side. Zoom you back out because I will be doing a proper live as we walk over Tower Bridge. Sorry, that's my phone. Turn my notifications down. That's it. Done. But yeah, didn't really get much. I was having to film so quick the other day because my battery died on this phone. Rob is a friend of my mate Simon and a friend of mine now. He lives in the Isle of Wight. He's helping me with all my editing stuff, and he said sometimes if the cold can make, if it gets really freezing cold, it can make the battery die quick. And the weird thing is, when I got back home and plugged the phone in, as soon as I plugged the charger in, it showed up as 13%. And I thought, right, okay, yeah, this is like the inside bits. We can film much more detail today, and this is a better phone than the other one, the old one. So I've got two phones. One's a backup phone, but that's really old and it is gone now. The hell on earth we had getting the footage off of that, like, thanks to my dad who helped. And then Rob, who's sent me instructions, like, because he knows all about editing, how to get that footage from that phone onto the computer, then from the computer onto my phone, which we did, which are the lives you've seen, which I uploaded yesterday, and some bits and bobs today. But yeah, this is filmed on Christmas Eve, by the way. Luke's done all his Christmas shopping. It's going to be a quiet family Christmas this year, and it should be nice. Nice as it can be with everything what's going on. I mean, we've lost a few people in my family, quite a few. So obviously you don't want to, you're not going to be celebrating too much, are you? Things like that gone on. This room up here, as I showed the other day, I can zoom in more on it. The public can't get in here, but it's absolutely fascinating. If you watch any of the programmes about the tower on BT Vision, Sky, YouTube as well, just type in the tower, you'll find dozens of documentaries. There's a mural up in this room, as I said the other day, and the mural was put there when the Royal Mint was housed inside the Tower of London, where the money was made. And the people who worked in the Mint would see that mural every day. And the mural was basically a really grim scene, a medieval painted scene of what would happen to them in hell when they died if they stole or did anything a bit naughty in the Mint. That was before... That was after the authorities had already got their hands on them, because if you stole from this place, you can imagine how you were treated. I mean, to come out of it with your life, you'd be very lucky, and you would lose a hand. That was pretty much a done thing in those days. Just going to check my battery life again. Yeah, pretty good today. Funny thing is, it isn't nowhere near as cold as it was on Wednesday. So maybe Rob's right. But I have got a power bank now in my bag, and it's wrapped up in a scarf, so it should be warm and everything. And this is nice. I'm going to take some pictures of this in a minute. This will make a nice... Because I also, someone helped me with stuff on my page called David, who comes from North Muscombe, and Carolyn, his wife, and they do drawings and things. So if I send them really nice pictures and stuff they like, I send them all my videos as well. And a lot of the stuff I film around here is filmed for a lady at Barking Church, not the one over there, the one in London. Where my family have very strong links to that. The family, that was their parish church for nearly 300 years. So she's helping me a lot with my family history, because I've got Quaker ancestors as well as Church of England ancestors, and the Quakers are not easy to trace or find unless you know someone who's in with the Quakers, and that's what Carol is. So she rubbed my back and I rubbed hers. Interestingly enough, basically, so I'll finish what I'm saying, so I'll forget. She rubbed my back and I rubbed hers. I send her the video footage of all the things around here that she wanted, particularly Barking Church, All Hallows by the Tower, and then she'll help me with research and stuff. So that's that. Yeah, what I want to do. Look, you see the ladder there? That's modern health and safety, because obviously it's an attic room, and with health and safety regulations you have to have an entrance and an exit, so in case there's a fire. The moat here is where the yeoman warders can go in, and people that work in the tower. The public can't go in. The green bit there, that's there's benches and stuff. They've got their own garden as well, and once the tower is closed inside... Oh look, there's a kid there now. Look, I won't show too much. There's a kid with a dog. That's one of the yeoman warders' children. Let's see, I'll show just a little bit, and that's it. No face because it's a child. Arrow slits, of course. I'll go close on this today because oh, okay. Do you know it's in every language but English? I don't know. Okay, well I'll just look. St Thomas's Tower, it just killed you. King Edward I, as I said the other day, built St Thomas's Tower. This is what it would have looked like in its day. Ah, brilliant. This is what I wanted to show. The Old London Bridge. You see that? They are rapids. Because the pinions of the Old London Bridge were so narrow in those days, the water, when the tide was coming out, you'd have white water rapids. These are the Thames boatmen that would people share. The Thames was like the highway of its days. People didn't really travel much by road if they lived in London. They went in a boat and then went either up the Thames, down the Thames, or over the other side. But yeah, basically because of the old bridge, where that's so narrow, in the winter time it used to make the Thames freeze, and that's when you used to have the frost fairs, and the ice was so thick that you could ride horses on it, and kings and queens went and stuff like that. And I'll do a bit more, I'll do another live about frost fairs, because someone, a historian friend from North Muscombe, has sent me some music that would have been heard at London frost fairs, one in the days of Henry VIII when he came to a frost fair, and the other one in the days of King Charles II when he came to a frost fair. So I'll do another live on that. This is basically Tower, and I can just show a bit. Well, maybe that is just that in different languages, possibly, I don't know. I don't often read these myself because I've got a lot of books and stuff, and I've been here so many times I know quite a lot about the Tower, so it's one of my favourite words. It's my favourite place in London, as I said the other day in my live. This is how the Tower would have looked in the olden days. The Traitor's Gate, which is over here, just say there. None of this walkway, this wharf, existed in those days, so the Traitor's Gate would come straight in, the river came straight in here, which fed into the moat. Then the prisoners, as I said, would be taken in there, and it's like good night Vienna, or if you were very lucky you might be found innocent, but not a lot of people came out of this place. I'll show more of the architecture and that now. My battery was running so low the other day. See if I can get those stairs and zoom right in. Yeah, I can. See, look, there's one of the these Yeoman warders. Look, they're watching me filming him. There's a Yeoman warder in his clothes, in his normal clothes, and his wife. Look, they're watching me film. I'll zoom out because I don't want to show. What the fuck? Hang on a minute. I'm just going to pause this because... Oh, I'm sorry about that. That was really weird. I thought someone had tried to... Because I've got the spare phone in my bag. That's what's got the music on it. I thought someone had tried to rob my bag because I just felt something tug on my coat. It's where I've got so many layers on. It's probably something like that. I hope. I'm sort of yes and no, like with the paranormal stuff. So I know that was weird though. That's why I spun round, because them two girls that were walking past, I thought, because there's Ralph with pickpockets up here, I thought someone had tried to rob my bag, but no, that was weird. That was strange, I must admit, because it really did feel like someone had got tugged twice on my bag. Yeah, so that's the stairs. As I was saying, inside, traitors would have been taking up those. Oh look, there's one of the tour boats turning around. City cruises there. They're pretty good, the city cruises ones, apparently. Over the other side here is where we're going to be going soon, but we'll do another live on that. Yeah, because this, where we're walking now, or wharf, none of it existed in those days. So the moat, or the Thames, literally surrounded the tower in here. This is the moat. So as I said the other day about, like with the sewer, because the Thames was an open sewer more or less from medieval times, so a lot of people got really ill and killed a lot of people in here, the moat did. When the Duke of Wellington came along, he literally revolutionised the place, because he was made constable or governor of the tower. And basically his first thing was to get rid of, because there was a lot more buildings inside the tower in the Duke of Wellington's day and before. Have a look about that online. I can't obviously go into all of it on a live because it'd be way too long, but yeah, he got rid of a lot of those that weren't needed. The next thing to go from the Duke of Wellington was the Royal Menagerie, the animals. I mean, because there was accidents. I mean, I think it was a child or a man got their arm bitten off by one of the lions or the tigers, and someone was mauled by one of the apes. And interestingly enough, when London Zoo was first set up, that's one of the reasons why it was set up, because these menageries and travelling circuses and things, but even then people realised, this isn't right for these animals to be kept like this. We don't know how to look after them properly, so we need to get people that can do it. And bearing in mind, at the time of Duke of Wellington's time, this was an active military fortress, because it was the Napoleonic Wars. I mean, so you had tourists coming in to see the crown jewels and the lions, and then you had the risk of all the animals getting out and hurting people and stuff. And he was a really precise, do everything by the book military man, and he said this is just totally impractical. If he'd had his way, the tourism would have gone as well. He would have kept this as completely as a military fortress and closed it. But the Victorians really vamped this place up. They even made some of it look more older and Gothic than it was by putting crenellations on top of the salt tower and things like this, what I'm looking at now. Gates are shut today. But yeah, where it's nice and quiet, and where I can film pretty much as I like now, we get a much nicer view and a more in-depth live. The Tower Bridge has a museum in it, which is very interesting. You go and get your tickets from that little, I'm going to zoom in on it, you go and get your tickets from that little kiosk in there. You can go up the top and see all the workings, like the old steam workings of how the bridge worked in those days. I'll go here and show you a bit more of this, and then we'll do the underside of Tower Bridge in this bit. So I'm going to have a cup of hot chocolate and a smoke in a minute. I bought some food with me today and a flask of hot chocolate because I got a hot chocolate the other day and it was nearly £5. I mean, no, that's a bit too much. And it's nice hot chocolate, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't worth a fiver. Anyway, right, back to Tower Bridge. Obviously those bits there lift up, as you know. How it's done is, that's obviously divided in the middle. At the end of those, it's weighted, and when it lifts up, the weights go down underground. There's all chambers underneath there. If you watch a program, you can probably watch programs about you can definitely watch programs about Tower Bridge on YouTube and stuff. Let me just put my bag down. That's it, that's better. Yeah, you can watch lives or watch programs about it on YouTube and stuff. But yeah, basically when these lift up, the weighted ends come down inside there, and underneath the ground it's like steps. It looks like steps, and that's where those things go inside. You wouldn't want to be standing in that bit when they did go down, but it's interesting to see. In the old days it was all done by steam hydraulics and stuff. This is made, Queen Victoria, when she gave her permission, because she had to give her permission for this bridge to be built, she said yes, but it must be in keeping with the tower, because at the time the newer bridges like what Brunel and things and that were building, they were all iron and they really did look modern and people didn't like them for the time. So this is the reason why this bridge is so decorative, because Queen Victoria said if this bridge is to go here, it must be in keeping with the Tower of London. So, but interesting enough, although it is all stone and everything and pretty, inside that is a totally revolutionary Victorian metal ironwork structure. If you was to strip all that stone away, have a look online and whatnot, the history of building a Tower Bridge. I can't go into all of it, as I say, but if that type of thing interests you, you can find anything on the internet now. But yeah, they go up, those bits. I've not seen the bridge move up since I was a little boy. My dad was a London taxi driver, so, and it was a lot busier back then. I mean, this is 30 odd years ago you're talking about now, and the only time it will open up now is when a big ship has to go under. The little cruiser ships and everything all fit under, so it's not very often now that it has to open, because in those days you had the docks all over here were dockyard warehouses. Over here where I'm going to point, let me try and get there. Yeah, I can see it. Here they look fairly newish, but they're old dockyard warehouse buildings that have basically been all done up, turned into cafes and flats and whatnot, but they've kept them old, and they do look like looking old on the outside, and they do look nice, and they weren't ever going to be used for that original purpose again, so good that they've done something with it. But all this here that you see here is new. I mean, this was bombed the crap out of in the war. Then they had to restructure quite a lot of it after the war and rebuild, and it wasn't up for that much longer really until the docks closed down. When you got the super trawlers coming with the big box containers, the London docks and stuff couldn't cope with them. So yeah, but when I was a little boy they were derelict and abandoned, which is what a lot of people on Abandoned's page and urbexers would love. It would have been an urbexer's dream come true, and parkour dream come true as well, because from here to here were the old derelict warehouse buildings that have all been taken down now, but you can see all the modern structures and that. There's the Shard. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't like the Shard cosmetically, that's the word, but you do have to admire it, that it is an amazing structure, and at night time when it's lit up, even in the day, it's an amazing building. But obviously it looks out onto things that are really old, and it may seem a little out of place. You've got Hms Belfast here. We can zoom right in now. That's a museum as well. I don't think it'll be open because of the COVID stuff and won't be open today. Obviously it's Christmas Eve. That's a museum. You can go in there. It's all been done out like the Second World War. We're seeing a Uber boat. Oh God, I didn't know Uber were in on theirs. Here we are. Aye, them bastards got their hands in many a pie, as one of my northern ancestors would have said. So yeah, we're doing that bit of Tower Bridge now. This bit here is where I got as far as the other day when phone number 1 died. A while before that, then phone number 2 I got as far as here, that died, so I had to give up. In the end. So yeah, and that phone number 2, the only thing it will be useful for me now is to check my old email address for my emails, because I've got Gmail on the new phone. That, and if someone sends me a sound recording and one of my historian friends or anything like that for the page, or because I try and build history lives sometimes on my page that follow in the footsteps of an event. I've done a few of those. Source the original material. My favourite thing is if there is music involved or was music involved, and I can find the piece of music. So you walk in the footsteps of that and you hear the piece of music and whatnot. I've done something like that at Barking Church in East London, not the Barking All Hallows by the Tower here, that followed an event in 1792 that my ancestors, the Lee family and Maywood family, would have been at Christmas Eve. They went to the Christmas Eve service from Barkingside village into Barking town, and basically the vicar wrote in his book that he and the church wardens waited outside the church with lanterns, so because most of the people that lived in Barkingside, where my lot came from, were poor farm labourers, and the people that lived in Barking town were a bit better off. So the vicar wanted the poor people to see that although they were poor, he still gave a shit about them and was waiting for them to come. And a piece of music was being played then. The While Shepherds Watch Their Flocks by Night carol that we know now was very, very different before the Victorians got their hands on it. Some versions of it, because in each area you got different words to maybe the same tune, or different tune to maybe the same words. Carols were very colloquial, that's what the word is. So yeah, I mean that was called the Shepherd's Song, and the middle bits of it weren't what the Victorian liked, because it talked about a young shepherd and shepherdess going into the hay and creating a new life, and basically having to get married quickly. But in the end it turned out alright, because they got married, and then later on when the shepherd was an old man he'd humbled down a lot and stuff. So yeah, but the Victorians still thought it was filth, so they got rid of it. The Christmas that we know nowadays was built by the Victorians, really. Before that, Christmas was only celebrated over 12 days, from Christmas Day, or Christmas Eve rather, until 12th night. See more of the Cradle Tower. That's interesting. Also, King Edward, he put his mark on this place. All this stuff that you see along here, all the outside, the curtain wall and everything, and the St Thomas's Tower and medieval palace which is inside that, this was all built by King Edward I. He was a very powerful king, also known as the Hammer of the Scots. He is really what caused a lot of the problems between England and Scotland. There were problems there before that, but this man really just, yeah, he went to town on the Scottish, and it wasn't nice a lot of what he did. And you can well understand why the Scottish feel pissed off about it. Discover prisoners. Oh, I showed this one the other day, basically. It's Father John Gerard. There we are. This is him, an actual picture of, or an image of him that's been taken from a picture years ago. Catholic priest John Gerard was imprisoned and tortured in the Tower for being a spy. and he really was tortured bad. They hung him up like this in chains for days, and even he escaped from the Tower of London. He's got that. He made a daring escape on this rooftop from the Cradle Tower. 1597. He fled in a boat, waiting to the wharf below. But yeah, because in those days the Thames was here, and it would have flowed right in here, and so literally drop out that window into a boat. Even if you had to go into the Thames, you'd be covered in sewage, but it's better than what would have happened to him and what was happening to him, because he was tortured for a long time. He knew a lot, this man. All the priest holes and things that were put in houses, they wanted information out of him, so he had to escape or something else, so he chose to escape. And he did it successfully. That's the Salt Tower there. It's only a little round tower. You go into it separately, but a lot of the heretics, or as they called them in the days, the heretic prisoners, were kept in there. And it's, no matter what the time of the year, whether it's warm or cold, bright or dark, it's always freezing cold in there and doesn't feel nice. So if the spirit of place is true, then that place has not got much of a nice spirit in it. But yeah, we're getting more. This is the, I was able to get as far as these with the second phone, but all I did want to show up here. Let's discover the history of the East Gate, basically. King Henry VIII was did a lot of military restructuring and organisation all over the country. Tower of London here being one, Dover Castle, Camber Castle, which I've been to myself, which is right next to Rye in East Sussex. That was another one of Henry's little babies. That one, that's a lovely little castle. It's ruined. It's open on Sundays only, at certain times of the year. Have a look online, but it will more than likely be closed because of COVID now. But yeah, it shows the tower, what Henry did with it and stuff. See, this is what I mean. Look, this here was Henry VIII's royal palace inside the tower. None of that exists now because the Duke of Wellington had it pulled down. There were a lot more buildings inside the tower back then than there are now. Much more buildings. This shows it in Tudor times and stuff. Those are the cannons. Made in the Venetian Republic in 1684 and 1716. And like I said, those cannonballs there, the reason they've got holes in them is because they'd run chains through them that had spikes in and stuff, and tie the cannonballs together, smaller than in there, load them up with that and fire that, and anyone that was on the receiving end of that lot wasn't alive for very long. Normally I don't like crowds, so quiet and whatnot would be up my alley, but because it's quiet for the reasons that it's quiet, because it's quiet for the reasons that it's quiet, I don't like it. This place is normally busy. You need the tourism, it's a big thing for London. I do stop at these things because I know a lot of people on my page and on other pages where I can share these things and whatnot don't always get to see. Illuminated documents, that's a hobby of mine, that is. I do those. I'll do a live on those. I've got a book that I've done a few in. I used to there was an old lady, she's very recently passed away. She used to work for, well, do charitable stuff organisation wise for St Joseph's Hospice in New Hackney, and I used to make them to her, and she'd sell them, and the money went to the hospice, or she'd sell them at the fetes and whatnot that were at the hospice. But she's passed on now, so I may get in touch with them in my own right and see if I can sort of donate them and do them, because it's a good hobby. It's like very much like adult colouring in, but really like a really bit involved. You get the very light scale print for them, and then you add your own colour scheme or copy the colour scheme of the thing that you've been shown. But I generally tended to do my own colour schemes. We're nearly at 40 minutes. I mean, it'll be another long live, but yeah, this is what I wanted to get all this the other day, and it really did pee me off. So this is all part of the museum for Tower Bridge. amazing feat of engineering in its day. This really was. People still will, they still do, don't they? People come from all over the world to see Tower Bridge, and if you can see it when it's opening, all the better. And as I say, check online, because it is in the public spectrum. You can check when the bridge is going to be opened. There's another cannon, a couple of cannons here. There used to be one at Woolwich called Big Bess, which was made in Queen Elizabeth I's time, and obviously Bess Elizabeth, it was named after her, and that could fire a cannonball for miles apparently. Ah, here we are. Here's the old dockyard buildings that have been converted into studio flats now, all along there, yeah. And there's little shops and things over there. We'll be crossing over the bridge in a minute, and I'll do a separate live for the Tower Bridge when we're going over it, and for this side of the river. So over there is just in between, like these bits here, there's like a little square. It's like a market-y type thing of shops and that. It's really nice, even in summertime, and that is nice. So I'm hoping that I can see Christmas lights over there, so I'm thinking it's going to be lit up, so I'll do a nice live for that. You can see London Bridge from here, the new London Bridge, the old London Bridge, and I will put some material on about that. It had houses and stuff on all over it for a long time, and that's why it took so long for people to cross it, because the docks and everything in the Thames, it was hell on earth getting over the bridge. That's why all these new bridges and tunnels and stuff started coming along. But that's the new London Bridge. The old one had houses on it, and in the middle, public toilets. They were the first public toilets in London, was on London Bridge, and it just emptied straight into the Thames. Basically, the nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady, refers to Queen Eleanor, I think it was. The royals were in charge of keeping the upkeep of the bridge in those days, and she didn't, and it did start falling down, and that's why you've got that nursery rhyme. And she was so unpopular that one time when she was going under the old London Bridge on her boat, the Londoners started pelting her and everything, and the boat was nearly overturned. She would have been drowned and killed if they'd got hold of her. Wasn't a popular lady, a French woman, and she was described as one of the most venal characters that's ever lived. That's what I read in a book. But yeah, she was ruthless. Everyone was ruthless in those days. It's just that they didn't like. Oh, this is interesting. The ancient right of the Jews. Any boat carrying merchandise or anything in those days had to give dues, as if it went past the tower. Had to pay dues to the tower, which went to the crown, obviously, in those days. Henry III. You see medieval kings, they had no cameras, and portraiture in those days was pretty rudimentary, to say the least. So they pretty much all look the same. The only way to see what they genuinely would have looked like would be to dig them up and do that facial reconstruction thing, but that wouldn't be nice, and I don't suppose the royal family would ever allow that to happen anyway. Yeah, this shows the tower, and this ceremony still happens today. When a Royal Navy ship is going by or something like that, you'll see it in any of the documentaries you watch about the tower. They stop, and then they have to bring in a barrel of rum or whatever it is, and that's them paying their dues to the tower and to the crown. Controlling the river. Discover the fortress story. I get that this might not interest everyone, but there's a lot of people on my page, and like our page rather I should say, that like history, that won't be able to get to see it. And I am sharing some of these videos on urban exploring pages and things like that, so other people can get to see it, because don't forget, a lot of people don't live in the same country as you, and if they do, there's a lot of people that are housebound and stuff that can't get out, so it's nice to put it online so people can see. Tower Bridge opened in 1894. That's what I was saying about it was designed to ease road traffic, because London Bridge was just totally inundated. It would take you hours to get over it. There's the memorial stone for the foundation stone for Tower Bridge. This memorial stone was laid by His Royal Highness Albert Edward Prince of Wales, KG, on behalf of Her Majesty Queen Victoria, Monday, June the 21st, 1886, in the 50th year of Her Majesty's long, happy and prosperous reign. The Right Honourable John Staples, Lord Mayor of London, and then you've got the other people that were aldermen and everything. David Evans Esquire, Thomas Clark Esquire, Horace Jones Esquire, Alderman, Creeber, whatever that is, City Architect, Sheriffs, Edward Atkinson Esquire, Chairman of the Bridge House Estates Committee, John Wolfe and Barry Esquire. Wolfe and Barry are the people that designed the bridge, engineers. I'll get back and do a bit more of a close-up of that. Obviously it's been railinged off for quite some time. The rain's starting again, so I'm going to end this live soon and go and get my umbrella before that shop shuts. Alright, so I'll give you a little view of the Thames again. Tower Bridge. I'll get my umbrella, I'm going to have something to eat, something to drink. Something to eat, something to drink. It's rain, isn't it? I thought that as well. I looked up, I thought someone spat on me. I thought Christmas Eve as well. Yeah, so basically you go under there now and you can get onto the other side of the bridge and that. But I'll be crossing over the bridge and do a live on that one. Alright. I'll get you to 50 minutes and then I'll end it. These lives are long because there's so much to take in, obviously. Bit of London where I come from, the East End. Any original history and architecture, pretty much most of it was bombed the shit out of in the war. And the other has just been either renovated, rebuilt, built on, and there ain't much history there. But the City of London, there are some really good snippets of lovely buildings, architecture, history, interesting stories, all that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm going to go and get my umbrella in a minute, as I say. None of the shops where I was going along were open, so I'm going to go and buy this umbrella from this shop. If you're in the shop with me, you're probably going to hear when they tell me how much it costs. But yeah, got to be done. It's either that or get wet. Right. East driveway. This all would have been the moat in those days. Would have been a pretty smelly place. Because don't forget then, there was no flushing toilets and stuff, so in the medieval times all the toilets emptied out literally into the moat. People that lived in homes and whatnot, and near the Thames, they just emptied their shit and piss into the Thames, into the streets, and it ran down and was taken away by night soilmen occasionally when it got bad. But that's why disease and stuff was so bad, obviously. But yeah, the White Tower, a little bit thing about toilets in there. The White Tower in there has got the original Norman toilets from Norman times, because none of this outside curtain wall and that existed in those days. It was just the White Tower, and that was surrounded by a moat with the Thames, and their toilets literally emptied straight out into the... When you're inside the White Tower, you can go and see like the toilets, Norman toilets. They're basically just a wooden board with a hole in it that dropped whatever you did out the wall and into the thing, but it would have all splashed down the wall as well. That's why they're on the back side of the tower where you can't see them. So the White Tower, which was meant to be lovely and white and gleaming for quite some time, would have had great big shit stains down it, which is nice. We're nearly at 50 minutes now, so I'll give you the White Tower. They've not got the Union Jack up. They normally have that up. Might be changing it. And the modern bit of London against it, which is the Gherkin there and other stuff they're building. And I'll be ending this video in a second, so hope you enjoyed the content, everyone, and take care, and keep your eye out for the next one I'll be doing, which is going over Tower Bridge and the Southwark side of the river. We'll be able to film and zooming on the Traitor's Gate, which is, you can see it from that side, like the entrance bit to it. It shows you where it is on this side of the river. So yeah, very quiet, very quiet. Search and rescue team. Unfortunately, a lot of people still do jump in the river, but they always patrol back and forth anyway, so let's hope it's just that. It's a desperate time of the year for some people anyway, but with all this what's gone on. Right, I am going to end you now. Take care everyone, bye.